All apprentices and delivery staff must wear PPE at all times in an official workshop. Note that these practical examples are filmed in a teaching environment.
In this session, we're going to look at the earthing and bonding arrangements required. So in the AM2, for example, we understand that all the supplementary bonding that may need doing is already in place. So you'll be looking at carrying out bonding to the water and to the gas supplies. Here in this mock-up you can see that we've used a 10mm cable and we've taken one individual cable to the water and one individual cable to the gas. You could do that with one cable running to both. But if you did that, then you would need to make sure that you didn't cut the cable at the first termination. Instead, strip back the outer sheath and keeping the cable continuous around the connection, take it from the water and then onto the gas. My advice would be use two cables. Now let's take a closer look at this arrangement. Okay, so let's just have a look at the few things that you may wish to consider when looking at doing your main equipotential bonding to your gas and your water services during an assessment like the AM2. Now you're obviously going to be aware of the typical types of earth bonding clamps that are used, but when taking assessments they quite often favour these sorts of clamps. These are reusable, so saving an assessment centre a lot of money with them. Like the other traditional clamps, they do have the do not remove safety electrical connection warning stamped cleanly on the side of the bonding clamp just there. You'll notice with these are in two different sizes. So these bonding clamps are sized to the size of the actual pipe they're going on. This one, for example, is for a 15mm pipe, so that will sit on there just like that. A simple twist and that's on there. Let me just show you that again. You can see the shapes there of the base and there's a spring retainer on the back of the brace on there. And then you put that on, simply twist and there you go, that's on there. And this one will be for a 22mm pipe, because it's slightly bigger, and that will also clamp on in the same manner. Now clearly the 15mm clamp won't fit on a 22mm pipe, but you probably could just about get a 22mm to get some kind of grip on the 15mm pipe, but you shouldn't do that, particularly in an assessment. You need to make sure you're selecting the right size equipment for the task. Okay, so with the bonding clamp on the pipe, clearly it's in position, but as you can see, it's not yet secure to it. So we need to make sure the clamp is on nice and tightly. And to do that, there's a screw just in the center in there. So if you want to come on in and see. So what we need to do is simply tighten that on there, screwing that inwards until it makes a nice, secure connection. And now that's on the pipe. Nice and solid, giving you a good connection. You'll see this pipe has been cleaned up in order to make sure that you've got a good sound connection from the clamp to the pipe. So when positioning the clamps, they need to be on the consumer side of the service intake. Here we've got a water intake and the consumer side is generally going to be above the stop tap on there, and it really wants to be within 600mm of that particular stop tap. Okay, so it's clearly in the right location. Likewise with the gas, you'll generally find that with the gas meter, the left hand side of the meter will be the incoming. You can identify that also. It'll have an isolating lever on there some point close to that, not shown here on this example. And then on the right hand side, this is the consumer side coming away. What we notice here, of course, is that it comes to this branch here in the pipework system, where it then continues off in two different directions. Now the clamp must be fitted on the consumer side of the service intake, but before any branch of pipework coming away. So here, for example, then, the only place that could go would be just in that position there. But before I fix that securely, I'm just going to clean up that pipe, because you can see it's a little bit sort of oxidized, just to make sure we've got a nice clean connection. So now we know where we're bonding to, we've got our clamps in position. You obviously need to be putting your earth cable from the main earth terminal running to each of the services. This is a 10mm. It's typical. If you've got an incoming supply with a 25mm cables, that would give you a 16mm main earth, and then you'd be looking at a 10mm bonding conductor. So in order to get a good termination onto the actual bonding clamp, you can just strip back and terminate that in a kind of typical fashion, but I would certainly recommend using the lugs. Particularly if you're going for an assessment, you want that to be a nice, good, sound connection. So we're going to fit a lug on this side. I wouldn't use it at the main earth terminal, but certainly on these, get a nice, good connection. I'm just stripping back then the outer sheath of the cable. Make sure that it's not too long. That seems about good. And then clamp that in place using a ratchet crimping tool, so you know that it's gone fully all the way. And there we go. So here we have now our bonding safely installed, terminated from the main earth terminal. Now this is sometimes situated outside of the distribution board like shown here, or more typically you'll find this inside the consumer unit. But in this instance there would normally be a 16mm earth cable taken from here up into the consumer unit as the main earth coming in. But our bonding conductors are these two 10mm here, one run into the water pipe, so it's on the consumer side of the water intake within 600mm, cleaned off the pipe and made a nice secure connection with a crimp and the bonding clamp securely on the pipe. And then over to the gas, again we come on the consumer side of the gas meter installation. Again we cleaned up the pipe, a nice secure connection, the label shown at the top here to a BS951, and it's on the pipe before any other branch of pipe work coming off. So that's your bonding installation.